I usually say, cut, and then I wish I had better actors.
Okay. As a director, what is your approach to building a scene?
Well, people have asked me, what's my approach to building a scene? Well, I just read the script. So a lot of directing is in the writing, and we write so that we can fast forward, we can imagine being on the set and doing this thing and building the scene. I mean, there are times when I've improvised on the day, like the scene in Scary Movie 3 where Anthony Anderson is creating havoc in the funeral at the wake. And then I think I added some stuff in that and kind of directed by the seat of my pants, as they say. And then other times in a scene like that, the shaking the woman in Airplane, we built that scene really well because we took suggestions from the crew and from actors. And then in BASEketball, that scene was built, I think it was all on the page. And so that's not so much as a director, but as a writer. So, I don't take credit so much. I take credit as a director for not screwing up a scene because it should be all on the page before you get to the set.
What do you say to actors after you say cut?
I usually say, cut, and then I wish I had better actors.
Okay. All right.
No, that's actually, I just say cut, either that's great or let's do it again. Sometimes the actor will want to do it again. Sometimes I'll have one thing to add. Usually with somebody like Michael Madsen, I would add, you got to cut out the pause between and the, because he would pause. His acting style was pausing. I said, you can't have pauses. And, he would laugh and we would do it. We had one great battle, which is recorded on the video assist, and I have to get it someday and play that, to show what a stickler I am for pace. You can't pause. No, there can't be pauses.
What does an actor want from a director?
I think, somebody asked my brother Jerry, what is the director? And he said, the director is the guy who knows what he wants. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that's what actors want to know, is that, the director has some idea of what he wants. And the directions isn't just, now just do it again and make it funnier. You can't give a direction like that. You have to give specific directions. And I think that's what actors like. And I also don't want to do a lot of takes. I try to do 3 or 4 takes. Like the first take is usually for rehearsal. Often it's the best take. Like, directing Bill Pullman, we had to get it on the first take. He was great on the first take of everything. And then, then we'd have to piece it together. And then I told Robert Vaughn once, your best take is always the one before I start directing you. So, I have to watch out for over-directing. And I've done that before. You can't micromanage too much. And then with Jeremy Piven, I got so frustrated. I just said, we're just mired in muck here. And I probably shouldn't have said it out loud, because he started getting really worried, because I think actors want to know that someone is in control. And I think that I was kind of giving up. And as it happened, that particular scene was cut because it wasn't funny, and it wasn't his fault. But I was frustrated because I knew it wasn't funny.
What do you expect from the actors that you work with?
What I expect from actors is, I don't expect any more than when I cast them, they read the lines. I loved the way they read the lines. And what type they were and how they looked, and that's why I cast them. So I just expect them to, say the lines and take directions, and every one of them has. I've never had a problem with an actor.
How much do you allow your actors to come up with their own lines?
Oh, good. That's a good question. Other directors, I guess, allow actors to improvise, come up with their own lines. I never do. I mean, I appreciate suggestions, but there aren't many, and I usually do try them, because even if I don't think it'll work, usually it can't hurt to do an extra take and try it. And if it works, I will use it. There was a scene at the end of a scene in Ruthless People. Judge Reinhold is trying to prove how ruthless he is, and while he's talking about how cruel and ruthless he is, he scoops up a bug and takes it out of the house and slams the door, and just drops it on, sets it down. And he said, "How about, why don't I open the door again and then stomp on it?" And I said, "No, that's never going to work." And then I thought about it and I said, "Okay, we'll try it." Because, who am I to say that I can't predict. We test the movies. I can't predict what an audience is going to say. So we did try it, and I thought it was kind of funny, but then we previewed it and it got a big laugh. So, that I do take suggestions, but I don't take suggestions if the actor wants to play it funny. I just, if they're going to go Jerry Lewis on me, I don't think that's a good suggestion.
Will you ever make an independent movie?
I'm hoping to make an independent movie now. I mean, the studios don't make comedies like mine. They'll only make it with, people they worship, like Seth MacFarlane, who, Seth MacFarlane must have $300 million. He's got a huge hit TV series, a couple of them, which print money. The Family Guy has gone on forever. He's got hit movies like Ted, and it's like the line in Fiddler on the Roof, where they sing, "When you're rich, they think you really know." So they give him Naked Gun, and so I'm forced to do my movies independently, because the studios, they'll go after, the rich guys, and I understand that. That's Hollywood. So, but I'm going to make an independent movie. It's called Star of Malta, and maybe Counterintelligence, which would have been Naked Gun 4, will be an independent movie.
And what excites you about making an independent movie? Because there's so much behind it that's going to be elbow grease and things falling out, locations, whatever.
Well,
what excites you about it?
It's just, what excites me about doing an independent movie is just doing the movie. I mean, it won't be any different than making a studio movie. It's not like we're using a pickup crew of students or something. We'll do it on the Warner Brothers lot, and probably at an LED studio. So it's not going to be different. We'll still have a 6-week schedule. And big stars. So not big stars, but people you've heard of, and a lot of cameos. It'll be done like a regular movie. It won't be any different than a studio movies, except studios don't do movies like this.
Do you think that people like yourself, when they have a new movie, should be automatically greenlit?
No, I don't think anybody should be automatically greenlit. I mean, they're automatically greenlighting Naked Gun 4, and that shouldn't be greenlit. So, and they should be. So, no matter what I've done, I think I've come up with some bad ideas for movies and some bad scripts in the past, and they weren't greenlit. They shouldn't have been greenlit. So, nobody gets to that point. I mean, some people do, obviously, and they're greenlighting stuff and putting $60 million into it, and they can be horrible. I won't say what specifically, but yes.
Who was one of the funniest people you've ever met?
Oh, that's a good question. Funniest person I ever met. Well, I never met Groucho, so he's out of the running. Woody Allen. I met Woody Allen. He's still alive, and I had a nice 20-minute conversation with Woody Allen during halftime of a Knicks game in the Garden, and I'm enamored of Woody, and we idolized Woody Allen, but all he wanted to talk about was airplane because he loved airplane, and so that made my day. So it's very cool. Also, Mel Brooks is very funny, and we had a couple of lunches with Mel Brooks after Airplane and Top Secret came out. He took us out to lunch. He was very nice, and he's always funny. You know, he's great. You see him on, on a talk show, and he's just very funny. I mean, he's 94 now, but he's very funny, off the cuff, very quick wit.
Off the top of your head, top 10 favorite comedy movies that were not your own.
My top 10 movies, probably Annie Hall, Groundhog Day. You know what I like The Holdovers. That made me laugh. Something About Mary. That was a funny movie. I can't think of any others.
Foul Play?
Foul Play was very funny also. Yeah, I'm sure there's some that I'm not thinking of, but Tootsie. That's one of my top 5, more than Foul Play. Tootsie was such a masterclass in structure and character, and that's why it was so funny. And that's why when the audience leaves the theater, they go, yeah, that was good. I like that. And Robin Williams was great in it. And Chevy Chase did some movie, the Fletch movies were good because Chevy Chase is such a master at comedy. And of course, Bill Murray, who I mentioned in Groundhog Day, he's really good in a lot of stuff.
And last but not least, this is the question I was just curious about. What would have happened if you didn't leave Wisconsin? Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I thought if I hadn't gone to that Void Were Prohibited by Law video show, and we hadn't gone anywhere, I think Jerry and I would have stayed in Milwaukee and developed apartment buildings. We would have been in the real estate business. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think but as it is, we were able to start small, and we started a small theater that had 70 seats in the back of a bookstore, and that was the start of everything.
Do you think that would have been an easier life?
No, I can't even imagine having to work for a living. So yeah, I don't think the real estate business was great for my dad, and Jim's dad was an attorney. And in the real estate, in fact, he was partners with my dad. It was called Abrahams and Zucker Real Estate. And Jim, when we left Milwaukee, was a private investigator. So he would have continued doing that. And he was able to have a company car, a Ford Galaxy, and he was happy with that. I probably would have been miserable, but yeah.
So what you do now every day, or when times have gotten tough, someone said no, it's not work?
No, what I do is not work, even because I have enough money to live on. Not as much money as Seth MacFarlane, but I mean, he could buy and sell me 300 times. But I'm comfortable. I have a house. I have my family. I'm very happy. I go on trips. I visit my daughter. And my son is in the business. He's reading scripts at Warner Brothers and doing some independent movies. And I just don't want to work. And so I want to. If I do my own movies, I don't work. I will work 24/7, but I'm just driven to do, Star of Malta. So that's that's always, the carrot attached to the horse that I keep following it. And eventually the horse catches up with the carrot, as I've found.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.